you're an aspiring author these days, you know that when the time comes and you have to query, there are some guidelines that ask you for comp titles, like it's not optional. And so I was in despair looking for comp titles for my book, because when I write, I am not thinking that way. I just want to tell my story, but yeah, you know, it's a thing now. This thing meets this other thing. And my story is supposed to be like a blend of those two or something like that. And so I ended up asking some avid reader friends that I have back in that time when I was querying for the first time. And now that I had the time and like read the whole thing, how is this a comp title for my book? I wonder. Hello there, humans. I am Dulce Silverno, the partially blind alien from a distant galaxy who is an all voices author, and today I have a book review for you. This is an oldie book, but I'm going to evaluate this book in very similar terms. Like I have been reviewing all the books that I have reviewed so far, and the ones that I'm going to continue to review. So the book that I review, because now I don't have it in the title, this is, this is a little bit different from my book reviews, because this was supposed to be I'm talking about my writing as well, but I'm not going to go into my writing. You guys have watched my videos enough to know what I'm writing about. I'm not going to bore you with that. Let's go straight into the book. The book that I read was A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine Long. Forgive me. Her name is written on screen right now. So I had to listen to the audiobook. Did I want to put first? Let's go quick with the stars counting and everything I think about this book. First, did I want to put the book down? Not really. It was entertaining. The narrator was fine. Everybody had like a different voice. I didn't want to put the book down because mostly it was a shorter book. It was like 6 hours long. It wasn't 11, 12, or a 2-part 9-hour audiobook thing. It wasn't like 18, 20, I didn't want to put it down because it was pretty short. Also because I was listening to it at a higher speed. Because actually there was a time when I was trying to listen to this book. I should mention this. And the narrator, there was one of the characters who had a very long voice. It was like very drooling. And if I didn't listen to that at a higher speed, I might fall asleep being lulled by this very long voice. And that would have been annoying. I actually fell asleep the first time, and I was like, okay, I know this is supposed to be a middle grade, but can we go a little bit faster than this? Thank you. It was just so the narrator was great, and I understand why this character had that kind of voice, but yeah, if it wasn't for the ability to put it a little bit faster, I don't know if I would have wanted to finish the book after all. So the second time I picked up the book, when I didn't fall asleep, I knew what to do and made it a little bit faster. So that's what I did. I would give it a star, but I'm fluctuating. Half a star, full star, I don't know. I'll give it a full star. I mean, once I understood what to do with this book, I knew what to do and I didn't want to put it down. And I did not fall asleep, so shut up and give it 1 star already. Dal from the future, you know what to do. Put the stars over there. Count them. Let's talk about the characters now. The main character is Meg. Or Margaret, but Meg, that's the main character. And she is described as ugly, this is targeted at this kind of ordinary girl, flawed girl, imperfect girl, I am ugly, is this kind of character. Okay. I have no criticisms because I wasn't a pretty child myself. I was quite an ugly creature, so yeah, okay. I'll give you that. There was her little brother, Charles, who was supposed to be very, 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 very smart. Like, he could speak eloquently, and he was 5 years old, and I find that quite encouraging. I mean, I like the character. He was... I liked him more than Meg. But at the end, I felt a relation to both characters, ironically speaking. I'm not gonna go into a personal life detour here, but yeah, I could relate. So the main premise of this book is that these kids go on a journey because their father went missing, and everybody thinks that the father abandoned the family to go with someone else, because that's what life is, especially these days. These days is like, my parents are divorced. Oh, the usual. And it will continue to be, sorry, but that's what life has become. This is what the majority of people that I have encountered in my life have experienced. If I ever meet one person without divorced parents, wow, you are a unicorn. Usually is a person from a different generation. So yeah, everybody in this book thinks that the father went missing because he just started over with a new woman somewhere else. But then we have these three mysterious characters appear. These three characters were quite... Remember, Dahl, it's a middle grade. That's... Yeah. How does this compare to my book if my book is not middle grade? Okay. At first I was thinking this is a fantasy and I'm writing sci-fi, but then I understood there were a lot of sci-fi elements in it. So that I will go deeper into that about the structure and plot and all that. But yeah, the characters so far. The villain, though, I understand this is middle grade. I understand that the book is older. I am not here to party poop on a book that is supposed to be great. I actually enjoyed it quite a lot, but that villain was, not to spoil it, but it was, for a child of our time and beyond, I wouldn't. It was quite plain. I'm sorry. It was quite plain. So when it comes to the characters, I want to give it a full star, but at the same time, I have to once again repeat to myself, this was a middle grade. This is not meant for you or a more adult audience, and it was written in the 60s, I think. Yeah, so it's good, but not as good. So there goes half a star. Now let's talk about the structure. There were parts of the structure that left me thinking that what even is this thing? Like, there was a detour going to meet a character from some other planet. For what? Oh, to see that there was some darker... This scene could have been completely put aside and find another way to explain it. I don't know. Anyway, there were parts of the structure that left me a little... Not that I was gonna fall asleep, but I was questioning it. Like, a lot. Even if it's a middle grade book. Like, children are not silly. On the contrary. In fact, the book starts with the narrator telling us that she wanted to write stories that a lot of people were saying were too complex for children and children were able to understand. Well, there were parts of the plot that I was like, well, where was that when you said at the beginning of this audiobook that you wanted to write complex? This is a little, I don't know. Maybe it was just for the sake of adventure. I really have to reconnect with my child self. Sometimes I tell myself hey, remember when you were a child and you were going on tangents? You still go on tangents as an adult. But I don't know. It was just something that I didn't feel it. So maybe, you know what, half a star. The ending was also like it was just like I said in the previous point, the villain of this story was plain, and this affects the structure because there could have been so much more. And you don't really see it. And there's no, like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I once again, I humble myself down. Don't judge too harsh. Don't be so hard. It's middle grade and it was written in many years ago. But so with my very humble down self here, I still find that the villain was not enough. The antagonistic force was supposed to be this thing that was going to end, the typical everything is going to die kind of thing, because writers seem to love that kind of thing, Everything is lost. Everything is the end of the world, is the end of time, is the end of the end of the end. Okay. This villain was supposed to be that omnipotent, omniscient, and it felt plain as AF. And I am still humble. I'm still trying to think, well, in the end, everything is very simple. We complicate life. Yes, but I don't know. Half a star. Yeah, the structure didn't convince me, even though I didn't want to put it down. I didn't enjoy it so much. I did enjoy it for me to go from start to finish, because no one is paying me or sponsoring me or forcing me or nothing to do this book review. It was just me, my curiosity, and how is this compared to my own thing? No. My book is in middle grade, first of all. It is in middle grade, and the villain is not this. The world is not going to end in my book. So I felt really... It felt really weird. Anyway, there will go 2 stars. 2 stars, because now we have half and half. Now let's talk about the writing in itself. Now, here's where I have to give a full star. The writing was great. Here is where I felt it was definitely not patronizing. It was good. Easy to read, yes, of course, because, the genre and the age category, fantastic, but it was good. Like, I didn't find anything clunky. There was something very nice in the writing that I find the smallest of connection with my own thing. And I liked it very much. There is one character who is quoting from famous books and texts from all time in different languages, like in the original language. So if the person was quoting... So this one is called Mrs. Who. Mrs. Who is the one that is always quoting things. And she quotes, for example, if she wants to quote Dante, that's Italian or like old Italian. So she quoted it in the original language of the text. If she was quoting something in Portuguese, it was in Portuguese in the book. German, French, Latin, Greek, whatever, anything. Wow, I was like, yeah. That I like a lot. And that gave me a whole woohoo. That's going on a subjective 5th star. That's but it's included in the writing. I liked this usage of like language, and like it didn't feel intrusive. It was attached to a character. It was a part of the character's identity and why the character was the way it was. Like yeah, okay, fantastic. The writing in itself gets a whole star, so currently I have no complaints. That was awesome. But we're at the 4th point, and this book has 3 stars. So Dal from the Future, there you go, 3 stars on the screen. And now the subjective part, that's why I was talking about the language thing, because that was definitely one of my favorite parts of this book. I liked the imagery, it didn't feel overwhelmed, and there was something very subjective here, but I was very, very pleased, very absolutely pleased with the concept of blindness, of like the visual sense being quite actually limited. There were these creatures from another planet. They had no eyes. They were blind. Really. Like, okay, there were no blind humans, again, but at least these beasts didn't have to die. And at least they were not evil. And, you know, at least, even though there were no blind humans, because we never deserve a human category. Hello, I'm a blind alien, how are you? But regardless of that, I am humbling myself down a little bit. I'm going to go on a rant on blind monsters that should die for fantasy. If you want to see me rant for however long the video takes, me ranting about famous books with blind monsters that have to die, and no one picked up on that, let me know in the comments if you want to see that, because I have been restricting myself from filming that for a long... Before I had a YouTube channel, I was ranting about it. So, yeah. I am forgiving that because at least these blind aliens, Planet of the Blind Aliens, hi, that might be my true form. Who knows? You will never know. It's not a tentacle, it's just my cardigan. Anyway, I'm forgiving it because it was beautifully described. It made it take sighted characters as disadvantaged. I liked it. I kind of liked it. It was interesting, and the way that music was described, that music could snuggle you for real, like your whole body was snuggled by music, and it couldn't be described to humans. Look, that's something I feel when I'm listening to music, and that, you know what? It's getting a whole star. Almost. Like, I'm giving this book 3.5 stars. It was enjoyable. It was really enjoyable, but maybe it's not aging well. There are things that sometimes don't age well, and I know that it was catalogued as middle grade, but this, I would definitely not categorize it as middle grade now. I would maybe read it for younger kids, like a children's book. It's a little longer, but yeah, longer for children's books maybe, but it's enjoyable. And I'm pretty sure there will be kids out there that will love this book. And so I'm not like ripping the book to pieces, because no, it has its merit, but I'm not convinced. And so 3.5. 3.5 out of 5. There you go, Dal from the Future. That's all I have to say in my humbled down opinion. I'm trying not to sound harsh, because this is one of the first books I'm not raving about, and it was recommended to me. It was even told to be like similar to what I'm writing, and I'm like, bro.
Nope.
I'm like, what? No, definitely not a comp title. That's my conclusion. It's definitely not something I would compare it anymore. Next time I find querying guidelines, I will not have a clear comparison title, because the two that people kept saying with my first chapter, I read both, and the other one I'm not even going to make a review about. because that's going to become a rant review, and I don't want my channel to be a tea channel and drama and, you know, and no. And if you want, and if you enjoy my rants, then okay. But yeah, I am trying to be as polite as possible to fellow writers because I know how hard it is. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a good time, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.